Yeah, just briefly this morning, something we don't normally do at City Church, but I was really interested in sharing with you about our sermon series, The Language of Life, that's coming up starting next Sunday. I'm really interested in this series. I'm really excited about it. I'm interested in all of them, but I have a particular interest in this one because we're going to be looking at the first 11 chapters of Genesis, what's called the prehistory of Genesis and by theologians. But that 11 chapters takes us from creation all the way to this episode that I'm sure you've heard of called the Tower of Babel. And for me, as a scholar of language, as someone who's very interested in language, Babel is the first indicator we get in the Bible that sometimes our language and the words we use is our downfall. And it's interesting because 1 through 11 of Genesis is bookended by moments of speaking. In the case of Babel, a speech that leads us away from one another. And in the case of God in Genesis 1, a speech that brings life into the world. And so one of the things that Leo and I have been talking about and that I compelled him to do as a bit of an experiment is this sermon series is going to work backwards. It's not going to go 1 through 11. It's going to go 11 to 1 because I have this hunch, I don't know if you're anything like me, that the experience of Babel, this technology that we call language, our inability to communicate the ideas that we want, is how most of us experience the world. And what we long for is the decisive, clear, and effective speech that we see God have in Genesis. Let there be light, and there was light. And many of us are looking for light in our lives. So part of this, the idea and the arc of the series is to start with Babel, start with this moment where language proves to be our undoing, and to work our way backward. How was language designed to be? How do we find new ways of communicating and new ways of being unified, both as a church, but also as emissaries of the gospel's power and light to the culture? So I'm really, really excited about The Language of Life, this sermon series that will be starting next Sunday. And I spared you a lot of the nerdy things about like deconstruction and language and things that I'm interested in. But you can catch me after and we can talk more about it then if that is your bag. I hope you'll join us next Sunday. And again, thank you so much for being here.